Hi, welcome to One Word Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey in learning just a little bit more of this amazing language. And yesterday we talk about the 面面相觑, which is kind of taken back by seeing somebody new who is kind of out of the norm of the regular folks or situations you face. I mean, most likely these are living things, conscious things facing each other. So you don't exactly know the other party's intention, if it's a friend or foe. So the language captured that moment. They're trying to assess the situation before you decide what action to take. So that's kind of a 面面相觑, freezing, like reading before you're doing anything. Okay, today we have 不可小觑. So 觑 again, and this time we make this 觑even more obvious about its assessing function of the 觑. It's not just looking, right? It's like reading the situation, assessing the situation. So 不可小觑, we have some very commonly used Chinese characters in here, and 觑 is the only big word that me, even as a Chinese, if I want to handwrite this character, I may have a moment to think about how to write it, but it's quite complicated structure. Okay, why don't we just, review this character again? So we have this human C on the right. Why human? Because here, two-legged structure, this is a human sign, simplified. When it sits below some other character, it formed into this, but basically almost like an unclosed R, English letter R, right? It's a human. Two-leg standing living thing is human. And then we have the C, the eyeball, on top of that. So it's definitely, I mean, it's not even a cartoon character. It's some weird language abstraction. Like just attach a gigantic eyeball on top of that human two-legged feature. You cannot exactly make sense of the world because this is not a realistic capturing of the world. In a way, it's almost like a postmodern art, right? Things are out of proportion over there. And that's the language abstraction function, to have this giant eyeball showing attached to a human C, and that's enough. That's the main message. It's about looking at things, but from a human perspective. The observation and then the assessing, right? And then there's no responding here yet. This word only captures the moment of observing things. With everything, entails being a human. Being a human means being a society, being, educated to a degree, and then inculcated to a certain ideology or culture with its own bias and all that attached to that being two-legged conscious being, and then seen from that person, from that, human. So human C is the right structure. And then we have the left, the tiger hop. I mean, tiger is an abstraction of the tiger look. I can view it as, okay, these are the long extended legs of the tiger, and these are the structures of the kind of a torso of the tiger. And this is one forearm showing of the tiger, and this is the kind of a jaw, like a powerful jaw of that predator, and the head only emphasizing the jaw. So you can imagine, like, put a picture of trying to read why that's a tiger representation by Chinese language. Okay, so tiger, and then paired with the bottom as the heel. So again, this 2D capture of the 3D structure of something almost like a cone shape. Is that called cone shape? So it's a rising above the ground, this horizontal line is the ground, and then this structure, which is two human figure actually, back to each other, standing here up tall. So I mean, if it's two human figures, probably there is a little bit of a quantification of there. It's like as tall as a human figure. So as big as two humans next to each other. So it's not really that big of a size, right? It's just imagine two, I don't know, if it's ancient Chinese, probably it's even shorter because we grow taller over time, right? Shorter in, let's say 5 feet. So 2 5 feet human figures standing back to each other and above the ground. So the whole spatial sense, the volume is like that. That's our Qiu, that character. It means a small uprise above the surface, the ground level. So it's not even a hill. It's really tiny, right? But when you pair it with tiger, this fearful, fear-inspiring animal, the king of animals, right? Instantly, this harmless-looking small volume structure has its additional meaning to it, layer to it. It has some complexity and it commands more attention from you, just simply because there's a tiger potential over there. So this seemingly small volume 3D structure thing, but when it paired with the tiger, things become either larger, riskier, more complicated, that commands more attention, more human see from you. So that's the whole, 4 parts, if we want to parcel down. So 4 parts of symbols pack into this character. That's the most complicated one. And we can see that when you are observing something complicated, at least, right, risk and all that attached to it, that's qu. It's like almost like you're not looking at it in the eye because there are risks of involving if you're looking at some danger in the eye. That's not the normal response. When we looking at something that's formidable, right? That's either overpowering us by size or by the energy it emits. When we look at things like that, we may not look at it directly. We may have to sideways look, right? Try to use the peripheral vision to capture more information from that bigger threatening entity. That's also depicts the appearance of such look. It's not look directly. It's almost like take a side glance of something, but in you, you're kind of busy computing how to approach. So that's a kind of 去 and 不可小觑. We talked about this many times before. 不 is a negation. It's a bird flying toward the sky, refusing to come down. That's saying no to the ground. That's our 不. Pretty poetic origin of the negation concept. And 可 means, it's also commonly used in Chinese because in English we have can. We say this can word all the time, right? What you can or you cannot do, and some marketing message like, or political, right? Yes, we can, right? Is that a yes, we can? Something like that. So can as an English word used very, very, used a lot. And in Chinese, when we say can, it almost sounds like can too, because it's a 可. It starts with the same k sound. 可 came from this stand, this horizontal. Okay, imagine this as a podium. Okay, so there is stand and some elegant curve over there to hold up the stand, and somebody, this is mouse symbol with up tilted corner, almost like a smiley face. That's a mouse symbol. And when we show mouse, there's some power involved. Why? Because mouse means somebody is speaking, somebody is influencing other person, or somebody who's talking is trying to capture information. So this mouse symbol, when we see it, almost always means something is going on there. Some information exchange, idea exchange, or power negotiation over there, right? So scholars often say this speaking sign next to this podium thing is a divine decoder back then, I call it a divine decoder, is somebody who is specialized in reading the divine message, like what higher up there, who is not part of the world, but who has so much power over how things are going to happen. You know, when we cannot resolve among humans, we look at upward, like whoever is over there may give us some additional message or power or something, right? So when this divine decoder have this sort of message sending, receiving going on, and then turn around, tell humans here, yes, you can do it. So that's the can. So it's the ultimate divine permission for you to do something, okay? But of course, when we, in contemporary Chinese, we use 可. It simply means, yes, you can do it. You are legally can do it. It's a human bound legality involved, but or moral, right? There is no divinity in there, but the origin of the message came from divine decoder. And 小, it looks almost like a chuan, like a stream. So 小 simply means separating this entity into two parts. So it's half the size. And language creator back then, I mean, at least I like to interpret the language creator's creativity in expressing what is small, because big or small is always relative. It's based on what? You have to benchmark against something, right? So here it's benchmarking against its original form, which is something look like this. And now you put something cut through the middle, separated into half pieces from the original. So that's like half the size. And that's benchmarking against the original form. This is half the size. That definitely, each side is smaller than its original. So that's the relativity of, you know, size comparing. And that's the, you know, my interpretation of 小. It may have other stories, but now it's my strongest theory about how language creator would formulate what the concept of 小 is, because it's really, if you want to compare things, if you want to quantify things, you have to, and also it's a 2D form, right? And it's frozen. You cannot make an animation to express something cut in half. That motion, it's this snapshot of how things look in a 2D form. And language creator have to use that vehicle or media to show you that's the concept of 小. So it's really like a separation of something cut in the middle in half. That's guaranteed it's smaller than before. Okay, so 不可小觑 simply means, okay, when you assess something, you cannot. Okay, so Chinese we say 不可, right? We have the negation before the action of the action. So we have the negation before the action. So 不可 instead of can not, like action or permission first and then negate afterwards. So Chinese negate, like they tell you the main message. If you can or cannot do it, they will tell you no first. So no can. And 小觑, like assess it, underestimate it. So you cannot underestimate. So that's the whole idea. 不可小觑 simply means you cannot underestimate the potential of something. In this case, I was searching for you know, contemporary Chinese when people use 不可小觑, what context they're using. So in this case, it's some companies marketing material or white paper talking about this gray hair economy. So basically kind of Chinese boomer generation. We don't really have a boomer generation, but that's the generation that worked. Maybe half of their life worked under the reform and opening up of Chinese economy when China become part of the global supply chain and become a major player over there. And they accumulate some wealth over the second half of their career, basically. And so now when they turn into retirement and gray-haired, and that's this mark or white paper talking about, like you cannot underestimate the potential of purchasing power of these gray-haired people, because normally, I know a little bit like marketing in like a boomer is a one major market segment. You can want to divide the market of your target consumer into age groups. So boomers, they got money and they can spend, but it's how to relate to them, to sell your products to them, right? That matters. So in this case, in this article, they're talking about Chinese consumers. Even if they retire, they seems like, you know, done with most of the consumption. Like they already got their house, they already got their life configured, basically. They only need food, probably. They don't really have much more desire left. So how to make more money from them, basically. And so 不可小觑 in that context means you cannot underestimate the potential of this particular marketplace. All right, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day. See you another day.